head to the 8th poem, Fog by Carl Sandburg. Has any one of you experienced fog? I'm sure you must have. Until and unless you are the, late risers, definitely you must have missed. But if you are an early riser, you must have definitely come across the fog. Have you just peeped out of your balcony or your window and seen that beautiful, mesmerizing scene when it is foggy? If you haven't, kindly wake up during winters. Now, fog is, of course, you generally see it, you come across it during winters. So, during winters, make sure you wake up a little early and you try looking for that fog. I'm telling you, it's really beautiful. It's so captivating. So, let's move further. Just like you see it, it's like, wow. Let's move further, and first, let's talk about our poet before we go further. So, yeah, Carl August Sandburg was a Swedish-American poet, biographer, journalist, and an editor. He won 3 Pulitzer Prizes, 2 for his poetry and 1 for his biography of Abraham Lincoln. At his death in 1967, President Lyndon B. Johnson observed that Carl Sandburg was more than the voice of America, more than the poet of its strength and genius. He was more than the voice, he was known for the strength, and he was a perfect genius. Yes, that's the reason he was known for his poems as well, and he received those prizes. Now, wow, just look at that. If you have missed it, just watch it now, till you watch it in real. So the poem is really tiny. It's a very small, just this 2-line and a 4-line stanza, just these 2 stanzas. The fog comes on the little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches and then moves on. Now, are we talking about the fog or are we talking about the cat? Tell me. Yes, the fog is being compared to a cat, right? But till you get your line-by-line explanation, let's first understand the theme of the poem. Carl Sandburg's Fog has 2 central themes which mainly describe the attitude of man towards nature and how change is an inevitable part of a natural process. Everything is changing. It will keep changing. It is inevitable. It is bound to happen. Whether you like it or you don't, it is bound to happen. It will definitely happen. The first theme that Carl deals within the opening of the poem is the theme of nature, fog. In the opening lines, Carl used the fog as the medium of representing nature. Here, fog is described as a living form that is gradually engulfing the world as nature is unpredictable and powerful. Now, if I talk of floods, water, if I talk of fire, all this is so unpredictable, right? It is a part of, do you think we have control over it? You have the tsunami, you have the hailstorms. Do we have any control over them? Though man, has actually made a lot of discoveries when it comes to technology, but when it comes to nature, we all become helpless. We can do nothing, but we have no option to accept it. Just to accept it. There is no option available to us. So he says, it is described as a living form that is gradually engulfing the world as nature is unpredictable and powerful. The second theme is of the change, which represents the transformations that happen in the world naturally. So a lot of changes keep coming, and they are all very natural. It's not man-made, it's natural. So it just happens and you can do nothing about it. You are just a witness to it. You can just experience it. You can do nothing about it. So these are the 2 themes where he's talking about the nature, where he's talking about the change, right? And where he's talking of the attitude of man towards nature. So let's move on and first understand the rhyme scheme. Now, let's first look at the poem once again. Let's look at the last word of every line. Comes, feet, looking, city, haunches, on. Any words, any word you can find rhyming? No. Because there are no rhyming words, there is no rhyme scheme, so it is called a free verse. Because there is no rhyme pattern, there is no rhyming pattern in it. Now, what are the different poetic devices used in this poem? You have enjambment. Now, we have already seen our previous poems. We have discussed all of these. Once more, we go for it. Enjambment are the continuous lines, the running lines, lines completing in the next line, right? Running lines of poetry from one to the next without using any kind of punctuation to indicate a stop. Then, personification. Personification, come on. Yes, an inanimate object gets the qualities of a human. So, projection of characteristics that normally belong only to humans onto inanimate objects. So, a non-living thing gets the quality of a human. That's personification. That has been personified. Metaphor, it makes a direct comparison between two or more seemingly unrelated objects or creatures and assigns the characteristics from the one to the other in order to create a visual picture. So here you have a direct comparison between two or more seemingly related objects, right? And then you feel that the characteristics have been assigned from one to the other in order to create a visual picture. We will see ahead how it has been used. But before that, let's understand the difficult words. The fog comes on little cat feet. Now, what is a fog? It is a thick cloud of tiny water droplets suspended in the atmosphere at or near the Earth's surface. They are tiny droplets of water. It is suspended in the atmosphere at or near the Earth's surface. That's fog. It sits looking over harbor and city. Harbor is what? An area of water next to the coast, often protected from the sea by a thick wall, where ships and boats can shelter. They can shelter, they can load and unload the cargo. All these things happen at the harbor, the port. On silent haunches. What do you mean by haunches? A buttock and thigh considered together in a human or animal. So, when you sit on your buttocks, when you sit down, you don't touch the ground, but when you sit on your buttocks, on your hips, that is the time we say he's on his haunches, right? This is how it is, and then moves on. So if you have understood these words, let's go ahead to the explanation. Now let's talk of the first two lines. That's the first stanza. Now in this stanza, the poet describes the arrival of the fog towards the city of Chicago. Now, he resides there, the poet resides there, so he is talking about the city of Chicago. As we know, fog consists of tiny droplets of water suspended in the air. We just got to know. Hence, it is a fluid, it is a liquid, and fluids move in a flowing manner. You know how fluids move? They move in a flowing manner. Their movement has no solid manifestation. It doesn't have a perfect shape, just like a solid does. That is why it seems to the poet that the fog is gliding. It's just moving randomly towards the city. He compares this gliding movement to the movement of a cat. This is a very apt comparison. Now here you see fog and cat. They have been compared. Why? Because just like the cat comes very quietly, right? So does the fog. The fog just glides its way through. Doesn't make noise, nothing. Very quietly, even a cat does exactly the same. even though a gliding movement is also engaged in by other creatures. For example, the cat is known to move secretively. Have you seen the cat? So quietly, suddenly it just comes and you're like so scared. So it just comes very quietly. Out of nowhere, suddenly you see the cat has come. This is easy for the cat to do since padding under its paws, under its paws, it has a padding, right? It's very soft and it does not make any noise while the cat is moving. So when the cat is moving, on its paws, there is a padding over here. It's very soft. So when it moves, it does not make any noise. It's very silent. Similarly, the fog is also approaching Chicago silently but surely. It is coming very, very, very quietly, just like the cat comes on its feet. Yes, very quietly. Likewise, the fog has been compared to that cat, which the cat comes silently, so does the fog. Very quietly, very secretively, very silently, but definitely, surely. Yeah, that's what you mean with the first two lines. The remaining part, now lines 3 to 6. In this stanza, the poet describes the way in which the fog comes to Chicago only for a while and it retreats. The fog doesn't stay the whole day long. As soon as the sun is up, it's gone. It's totally gone. So it's just there for a very little while. It comes and it goes. Retreats as in it goes back. Now, do you see a fog really going back? It's not the case. Suddenly it just disappears. He continues the comparison of the fog with the cat. This is where we were calling metaphor. He says that like a cat, the fog sits on its haunches for a while and looks over the city of Chicago and its harbor. So, you've seen a cat sitting, right? It sits on its haunches and it just keeps looking all over. Likewise is the case of a fog. It just is there over the city and it's looking all around. It's like they're showing that, the fog is also on its haunches, but that's how it is being depicted. A cat is generally a very cautious creature, and therefore it cannot sit and relax in one place. Now you see, we spoke earlier, it's like a fluid and it keeps moving. It does not have a very solid manifestation. So just like the cat is very, it cannot be steady at one place. It will keep moving. It cannot just sit in one place. Likewise is the fog. The fog is also a temporary visitor to Chicago, and that shows very clearly in its movement. It comes, stays for some time, it goes. It does not settle down anywhere like dust particles. No, you won't finding it settling down. Instead, it only hovers over the city of Chicago. It is just there on top of it. It's just there, and then it just disappears. That the fog should naturally move towards a water body such as the Chicago harbor is no mystery. Now, a fog, it is generally attracted towards the water body, right? So, there's the harbor. And now that is the case, it's always the case. Since fog attracts water particles, so obviously it moves towards the water body. However, the fog is not there to stay. Again, it is temporary. As silently and secretively as it had come, the way it had come so quietly, so secretively, it also leaves Chicago soon enough. Just like it came very quietly, without anyone knowing, it just disappears. Hence, even in its retreat, even when it's going back, its movement resembles the movement of a cat. Even in that case, the fog is being compared to the movement of a cat. Just like the cat comes in, sits on its haunches, looks over, goes away quietly. Because even a cat cannot stay steady, so is the fog. It came, it hovered around the city, above the city of Chicago, just hovered there, stayed for some time, and very quietly, just like the cat, it moved away, it retreated. That is why the poet's use of this extended metaphor, it's metaphor, fog and cat, but extended means throughout the poem, this comparison has been done, is absolutely appropriate to describe the fog he has seen over Chicago. So when he's talking, he's comparing both of them. It's very appropriate because it is there right from the beginning. It is resembling the, the qualities of a cat, the characteristics of a cat, till the end, till it goes back, is also the same. That is why it is an extended metaphor. Yeah. Throughout the poem, we have that comparison. Now, let's talk about the poetic devices that have been used in this poem. So, metaphor, the fog comes on little cat feet. Fog and cat, they have been compared, right? And the characteristics are similar to each other. So, it's just giving you that virtual effect, visual effect, where if you're talking of the fog as a cat, so you can have that visual effect, you can actually imagine it, you can visualize it. So that's metaphor. Enjambment, we know, one line continuing to the other without a pause, without a punctuation. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches and then moves on. This whole thing is one line, but it is coming in different lines. There is no pause, no punctuation, hence it is an enjambment. That's your poetic device. Personification. Now, the fog comes. Now, the fog is not a human. A human can come, right? So, it is inanimate, getting the qualities of a human. It sits, it moves. So, it sits. Does the fog actually sit? No, a human sits, right? So, again, it is being personified. Here, the fog is being personified with human qualities. Got it? Now, it was a small poem, so you had these poetic devices. And so to conclude this wonderful misty poem, sometimes when you lose your way in the fog, you end up in a beautiful place. Don't be afraid of getting lost. Mehmet Murad Ildan. Wow. You're lost. At times, you go to a hill station. Now, this does not really literally mean, but then if you are lost at any point of time in life, don't worry. You will definitely land up in such a beautiful place. So don't be afraid of getting lost. Don't be afraid of giving it a try. Just because you might get lost, I should not try? No. Then you have lost your scene there only. You can't give up even before trying. So even if you try, even if you get lost, don't worry, you will definitely find your way to a much beautiful place. Yes, to maybe a better destiny of yours. So yes, I wish you all the luck and may you come across foggy mornings, not in your life of course, but I'm not talking about the fog in your life, I mean as challenges, but I'm talking about the beautiful foggy mornings. So yes, enjoy them, keep watching and keep learning.